On this edition of the Cubs Talk podcast, brought to you by Wintrust, home of Cubs checking, with free ATMs nationwide and that really sweet WATM card. Maddie Lee from Denver for the All-Star game. Gordon Wittenmeyer and I discuss the latest goings-on with the Cubs, Wilson Contreras' comments about his teammates, and Craig Kimbrell and Chris Bryant's reaction.
At Wintrust, we know true fans show their team pride every chance they get. With Cubs checking, you'll score a Cubs debit card, so you can show your support every time you pay. Open today at wintrust.com/Cubs Talk. $100 required to open. Member FDIC.
Let's play two.
Back! Way back! It might be! It could be! There it is! Holy cow! The fly! He scores! Cubs win! Cubs win! Ball! Game! Over! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Welcome to another edition of the Cubs Talk podcast, and as always, sponsored by Wintrust, home of Cubs checking, with free ATMs nationwide. From Denver, site of the All-Star game for Major League Baseball, we have Maddie Lee. We'll tell you where she is in Coors Field in a moment. And Gordon Wittenmeyer, our senior Cubs insider. Tony Gill's at the controls. I'm David Kaplan. Okay, Maddie Lee, before we get to the first topic, you're at Coors Field. Where?
In a broom closet. I know this is an audio thing, so you guys can't see it, but my backdrop is a bunch of different pipes and, like, you know, the custodial things that they wheel around with the various paper towels and trash bins and stuff.
Almost looks like a bathroom.
It really looks like a bathroom. There's a I swear,
is that toilet
that's
paper
a mop.
back there?
That's a mop. What?
Is that toilet paper back there? Is that a stack of toilet paper?
This is not.
Oh, right behind you.
No toilet paper in here, but plenty of paper towel options.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Well, that's being a trooper while she's at the All-Star game. So let's
actually wait a minute. Maddie, you tweeted out a picture of your press box seat in the Ox box. I think where you are right now is a better seat, isn't it?
Yeah. I agree. My actual press seat is last row in the auxiliary seating directly behind the pole. So, you know, at least here I've got like a comfortable seat as opposed to perching on the edge of a stadium seat while trying to type. So
I think what's funny
here all game.
What's funny about that is it's spring training. A lot of times I choose the seat behind the pole in the press box. But this is the All-Star game. I mean, you kind of want to see some of it.
Yeah.
So
want to know if, you know, a home run ball is flying my way during the Derby, maybe.
Did you get any?
No. Although I did watch the guy tumble over a railing.
Oh, yeah.
Not the big railing, but it was a short fall, but it was still a railing.
I saw a guy do that in Milwaukee during batting practice, and it was from way up high.
Oh, God.
And we thought he died. Ryan Theriot was on the team back then, so that was, you figured out how long ago that was. And he comes in saying, "Yeah, that was crazy. It was scary. They got the medics out there. He's still breathing, but there's blood." And the guy, I mean, it was awful. He was reaching for a foul ball, and he just kept going. And I mean, I'm Mr. Downer here. I mean, the guy survived. We heard later that he survived, but then we heard he died of his injuries a couple of weeks later. It was horrible.
Oh my gosh.
Man, Gordon.
That's right.
This is supposed to be funny.
Yeah. So, haha.
My guy just took a couple foot tumble and someone else broke his fall and everyone got up and walked away.
Well, that's good. I mean, people don't realize, like, sometimes I look at that, man. That ain't the only case either. Anyway, we should probably change the subject. Sorry about that.
Yeah, let's move on. Wow.
Welcome to the All-Star break.
Yeah. Happy.
Cubs didn't play on Sunday. Why? I don't know, because it was not a downpour all afternoon as had been.
You know damn well why. They had a forecast that said rain, and they had an excuse to bang it early, so they did.
They did. So after the game Saturday night, Cubs lose 6-0 to the Cardinals. Willson Contreras made he never raised his voice. He never used profanity. He was disappointed in the effort level that he saw from his team, and he criticized them. And David Ross, the next day before the game was postponed, disagreed with Willson going public, pushed back on the effort narrative. And then Willson sent out an interesting tweet last night. Craig Kimbrell and Chris Bryant spoke at the All-Star game where you are, Maddie, and I read your story. So why don't you take us inside what that was like hearing from both of them in regard to Willson being pretty critical of the team?
Yeah. So just to start with Craig Kimbrell, he kind of didn't seem to care all that much or put that much stock into it. He was like, yeah, he was frustrated. He said he doesn't think that Willson was trying to point fingers at anyone individually, and said that he was just saying we need to play better. And Craig agreed with that. They do need to play better. I think we can all say that safely. Chris Bryant was a little more interesting, where he started off saying that he could only speak for himself and went on this pretty long description of how he wakes up every morning ready to play baseball, has that on his mind, really seemed to be saying, I'm not going to speak for the group, but I can speak for myself and I put in effort. So that was interesting. But then, he was asked the follow-up of like, well, do you agree with what Willson said? And he seemed to agree with the sense of frustration in that, of course, after the run that they've had, there would be frustration, and talked about how Willson wears his heart on his sleeve and all of that. So overall, a kind of not quite kumbaya, but definitely not pushing back too hard on what Willson had said, and said they came together and had a talk and things are cleared up and they're moving on. They kept talking about like, well, we'll have a great run. We'll come together and have a great run in Arizona. And it's like, it doesn't really matter games now.
Hey, Maddie, did you get the impression that
they're not all going to be here by that point?
Well, that's kind of where I was going. Did you get the impression that Kimbrell, it was much easier for him to shrug it off because he's the one guy that knows more than anybody else in there, that he's gone sometime in the next 2-3 weeks?
Well, I think another thing for Kimbrell is there's no way that Willson could have been criticizing his effort level, because the man's been ready to play for the last 2 weeks and has been barely on the mound. So
yeah, he's throwing like 10 pitches in the last 10 days.
By the way, Willson tweeted 16 hours ago, and we're taping this at 1:37 here in the afternoon, from his verified account, Taurus will say things to your face, not on your back. How do you read that, Gordon?
I like it. I read it as a guy that says, I wasn't calling out anybody behind their back or pointing fingers at somebody that I'm not willing to say something to their face about. I think he's look, what happened in San Francisco? He and Rizzo got in a confrontation that was caught on camera. He has said things to people's face. And I like that. I don't know that it can be destructive. There's a fine line you walk. There's no doubt about that. And this team in particular, with its leadership, starting with David Ross, likes this, we're all a family and happy shit. But the fact is, there hasn't been a lot to be happy about. Not since Darvish got traded and all the way in. There was a big May that got him in a place where they were feeling good about themselves. But even then, it was about proving the front office wrong. So they had a chip on their shoulder then. I like having a guy with edge. And when this team has won, they've had those guys. That's one of the reasons I'd like to see them build around him.
Gordon, that's what you're all about, right? Happy shit.
Happy shit. That's me. You know it.
Just the sunshine on a cloudy day.
Hey, I saw another guy fall out of the stands once too. You want me to tell that story?
Yeah, please do.
We're hard past that, Gordon. So Andy Martino from SNY in New York tweeted earlier today that he thinks a Chris Bryant trade to the Mets could happen by Saturday. Do you see
This is a guy this is a guy that said the same thing in January, and he said, "Yeah, could happen by the weekend." Then, are you sure he just didn't retweet his old tweet?
Maybe. Maybe
he's the one who was texting Bryant from the Connecticut number.
Yeah, right.
Maybe. Do you guys see whether it's Chris Bryant, Andrew Chafin, or a Class A minor leaguer, something starting to break the logjam of this roster sooner rather than later, not waiting till the 28th to the 30th of July?
What do you think, Maddie? You're out there talking to a bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, the talks have obviously already started, right? And the Cubs have a pretty clear lane going forward. So I think if things materialize, why not? Chris Bryant was asked a lot about trades, both, as I said in my story, directly and indirectly, where he was asked straight up, do you think you're going to be here after the deadline? And he said, he kind of shrugged it off and was like, I tell our Chicago media the same thing every time. There's plenty of those quotes out there. You can just recycle what I said last time. But, there was a little more trying to dig at the what ifs, and he has very much stayed on message that he's going to, focus on the game right now. Of course, Chicago means a lot to him and his family and all of that. But if it does happen, if he does get traded, it happens, and he'll put his best foot forward there and play wherever they want him to play, like he has with the Cubs. We also talked with Kyle Schwarber about life beyond the Cubs organization, and he very similarly was like, those guys are going to be fine. They're all great baseball players, and if they get traded, then they'll do great wherever they end up.
Hey, Maddie, what did Schwarber say about that clubhouse? He was in there long enough to know those guys really well. What does he think's going on in there?
I was not there. If he addressed it, I wasn't there at the time. For anyone who doesn't know what the All-Star setup looks like, you have a bunch of guys lined up on either side. And you get 45 minutes to talk to as many guys as you can. I talked with Schwarber briefly about David Ross saying that maybe if the season last year had been longer, that Schwarber would have gone on the home run that he did this year. He didn't say no, but he did not buy into it by any means.
So Kyle Schwarber was on with Waddle and Sylvie yesterday.
Yeah, he ripped your ass.
Oh, he did not.
Yes, he did. They talked about you.
He took a good-natured little shot when Sylvie said, you're off to this great start. You're an all-star, even though you're injured right now. Anybody you want to say take that to, like Cap, who called you a beer, he said Cap, and Schwarber said, oh, you mean the guy that called me a beer league softball player? Yes. He said he needs a Snickers bar. Just obviously saying, relax, okay? I find it funny because just go back through his numbers, and I love the guy. He's a hell of a home run hitter and an even better person. This guy's not a batting average and on-base machine. Let's not get it all twisted here.
He is an on-base machine for a guy that hits like he does, because his on base is 75, 80 points higher than his batting average. I mean, the guy at one point when they were batting him leadoff, it was because he had a 356 on base percentage.
Yeah, and that crashed him.
And with a 230 batting average. So that with power plays today. And when I say today, I mean broadly, because I think some of that's changing right now. But I mean, he was what they wanted him to be. He was just a little too streaky at times. It's interesting to see, because if this holds and this is who they thought he was, all it means is that he's a late bloomer. It probably also means he needed a fresh start.
So Chris Bryant, like the back page of your old paper today, Gordon, Chris goodbye. And it was like Maddie getting access. He was speaking with Steve Greenberg, and he said, I used to be very sensitive. Then I said, I don't give a blank. Now he said, I'm not at either end. I'm just enjoying my time here. And if this is what it is what it is. But I love playing for the Chicago Cubs and being in Chicago. Talk about the level of maturity you've seen out of Chris from the day he was drafted to the sensitivity over trade rumors to the I don't give a shit to now I'm right here in the middle. I'm just playing as best I can.
Yeah, I think he's the same person. Right? I don't think he's changed fundamentally who he is. I think he's a good guy. We've seen the kind of, we like to say, model citizen that he's been for this organization. That's never changed. And that sensibility about how to conduct yourself and how to treat other people has never changed. But yes, what has changed is obviously he had so much success coming out of college, in the minors that 1 year, Rookie of the Year, MVP in consecutive years, championship. All those things came so fast that it was nothing but adulation, like consensus, 100% from everywhere. And then when he had some injuries and some downturns and some slumps, all of a sudden criticism came for the first time in his life. And yeah, I do think he's a sensitive guy. I do think he feels all that stuff. I think he still does. And I think he never felt it more than when ironically, than when he said, I don't give a shit. I think he gave the most shit ever then. But I do think he's come to this place. I read Steve's story with a lot of interest. Most of it was stuff that he's been saying since spring training. The one thing I thought stood out to me was that, and we know that as of 2 weeks ago, nobody could have been prepared for this, but he wasn't prepared for the idea that any moment he could be gone. He's been preparing that this would be his last season, one way or the other. But especially once they got off to a good start, I think the idea of him getting traded at some point this season was considered off the table. And now it's sinking into him that it could be the minute he gets back from the All-Star break, he's got to pack up and go somewhere else, or a week after that, or a week after that. And I think that's starting to get to him. It sounded like that was impacting him.
Maddie?
Yeah, he also had some comments where he was asked specifically, you've been through trade rumors before. Is it different now, if you were to have to leave to Chicago now that you have a family? And he kind of said, well, we're already kind of used to me being on the road all the time and what goes into this job. So we'll be ready. But then went on and on about how much Chicago has meant to him and his family and growing up in the city, which he said before too. But, obviously he's going to have to think about a lot of that and reflect on it. And we've talked so much with him. I think the emphasis in spring training was really kind of, as Gordon was saying, on extension talks. And since then, the expectations weren't super high for this team going into spring training, but I don't think any of us saw the season dropping off as fast as it did, or them really competing as well as they did in, for that month-long stretch. So it's been a roller coaster of a ride for this group.
Once again, Americans will begin their day watching the Open and the best in the world. The Open Championship beginning July 15th on Golf.
I'm Olympic medalist Ibtihaj Muhammad. Would you quit your stable full-time job at 30 to chase your Olympic dreams?
It was the best risk I've taken.
Or give an impassioned speech in front of hundreds at a rally to stop AAPI hate?
Well, newsflash! These aren't jokes! They're racist remarks!
Stories of personal courage you won't hear anywhere else. My new favorite Olympian. New episodes every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, did you know that 80% of the grass-fed beef sold in the U.S. is imported from overseas? It's staggering, and that's why I get my meat from GoodRanchers.com. When you buy Good Ranchers, not only are you getting amazing meat, you're supporting American farms. GoodRanchers.com safely delivers American craft beef better than organic chicken and more. Delivered quickly and safely to your door. Don't play the grocery store guessing game. Know where your meat comes from with GoodRanchers.com. Go to GoodRanchers.com and use the code Chicago for $20 off and free express shipping. So, Gordon, 4 years ago today is an anniversary in Cubs history.
20. Oh, no. Don't go there. And you better not use the word Buick.
Oh, stop.
I know where you're going with this.
4 years ago today, the Cubs made one of the more horrific trades of Theo's regime.
There you go.
When they gave up Eloy Jimenez, Dylan Cease, and two nondescript.
Let me ask you something, Cap.
For Jose Quintana.
You can pick apart any trade in retrospect. And like, if they hadn't won the World Series in 2016, you could be ripping the Chapman trade from here to eternity. But in the moment, that was the trade they had to make. And by the way, it paid off. In the moment in 17, that's what a player who, by the way, was an all-star pitcher that year, had club control on a club-friendly deal for 3 more years. That's what that cost. And by the way, Dylan Cease hasn't proven that he's any better than Jose Quintana. And Eloy Jimenez can't stay healthy so far. So we don't know who wins that trade yet, even today. So, I hate going down that road. I hate looking at trades 2020 and pretending like we knew all along how horrible it was when we don't even know now how horrible it was. So okay. I don't buy that crap. I got a question for you.
Wait, hold on. I'm just going to say that before that trade ever went down, I was the guy out there saying, don't you dare go get Jose Quintana. Don't you dare.
Okay, say it. Bring it. Take that. Get us to take that, and then I can ask you a question.
Take that. That was
okay.
Trade. Horrific.
All right.
Tony Gill, who's a diehard Sox fan, is sitting there right now and going, Gordon, that was a bad trade, man, because his club got 2 pieces they're going to control for several years.
That's fine. But like I said, and I'm not saying that Jose Quintana was this thing they expected him to be. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we don't know what the other side's going to bear long term on this. So far, it hasn't borne that much. It's got a lot of promise, especially with Eloy, but I'm not willing to say that the Sox fleeced anybody on that deal if Eloy can't stay healthy and Cease doesn't develop. So I got a question for you guys, though. We're talking about how awful the offseason looked and how bad of a start they got off to, and then how much optimism there was through May and into June. And then nobody saw nobody sees an 11-game losing streak coming for anybody, but just how quickly they fell off a cliff in 2 weeks. All these things have been the story of this season. However, if you go from February 1st and just jumped forward to now and looked at their record and where they are in the standings, would any of us have said that doesn't make sense?
No, I guess it's about right. Just below 500.
Just how they got there.
Yeah.
Right. Which could be the bullpen overachieved. The schedule was favorable for a while and then very, very much not favorable for another stretch. Yeah, it's how they got there, right? But this if you look at their record, and this is why, baseball's a marathon, not a sprint, right? And then your record at the end, it tells you who you are. This is kind of who they are. It's kind of who they always were, right?
And that's how they were built to be. I got a question for you guys. Maddie, you're out there. There are 2 Cubs in the All-Star game. Mm-hmm. There was a story that broke last night. The Tampa Bay Rays have a reliever named Andrew Kittredge. He is eating dinner at Rainforest Cafe in Orlando. He took his wife and their young son, Brooks, to Disney. And they're at dinner, and his cell phone's ringing. He's like, oh, that's Kevin Cash. What does he want? The manager. Hello. Where are you? I'm at Disney World. He said, can you get a flight to Denver as fast as possible? Why? They just added you to the All-Star team, which I think is an amazingly cool story. He's 31. He came in on a minor league deal, and now all of a sudden he's having this great year. He's 6-1, 2 saves, and a 1.47 ERA with 43 strikeouts in 43 innings. 10 of his last 11 appearances scoreless. Is there anyone on the Cubs team, and I know they're under 500, is there anyone that you feel like they actually should be an All-Star? Both of you.
Not.
Yes. Andrew Chafin.
Oh,
he's the best relief pitcher who's not in the All-Star game. And I don't think it's particularly close. I mean, he has put up some incredible numbers this year, but it's not just numbers. We've watched it outing after outing after outing. And we've watched the way this team has leaned really hard on him in leverage situations. And it doesn't matter, right-hander or left-hander. He just comes in and keeps getting the job done. Sticky stuff, not sticky stuff. He keeps coming in and getting the job done. I think Andrew Chafin deserved an all-star bid today when some of those other, and maybe not the first wave of pitchers, because there's some pretty deserving ones, maybe in the second wave.
Yeah, I think if he had been named to the All-Star team, it would have been completely deserving. I'm just not surprised because he's not a closer and he's on a team that's been losing a lot of games recently. I think that's probably what it boils down to.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
A big part of the games that they were winning, like that big three, is a huge part of why they had a successful May, and why they were able to be okay when their rotation was crumbling to start the season. But it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's not surprising to me either, in the sense of it was a long shot because of what he is. He's a setup guy, but other setup guys do make it, have made it. There's always one or two in recent years, sometimes three, and he would have been, in my eyes, he would have been in that two or three.
Well, we've got the game tonight. Are you guys, I know, Maddie, you're there, but are you both geeked to watch the All-Star game? Like, if you weren't there or you didn't have to write about it, are you geeked to watch the MLB All-Star game?
To be honest, as a baseball fan, what I've always gotten more excited for is the home run derby. And I love I love the celebrity softball game too.
That's funny.
And then this year on top of it, you have so many guys who were either injured or opted out. So that's another layer on top of, it's another game there. I was talking with someone about this earlier, where the NBA All-Star game has gone through similar things where people weren't that interested because no one was playing hard, and they kind of revised things so that you had the two captains picking teams, and the guys got together and they're like, all right, we're going to make this more interesting. They add the Elam ending. And that's been super fun. But in a game like that, like, you can have the big dunks and stuff like that, and it takes on a different feel. With the MLB All-Star game, there's only so much showboating that you can do, just because, you have to hit a home run in order to do your home run bat flip or whatever it is. So I don't know how to make it more of that, fun showboaty feel.
Well, the other thing is Rob Manfred needs to do a way better job in his
job.
In his commissioner job. But in terms of a marketing job, like the winner last night got $1 million for winning the home run derby. That's a cool prize. Guys want to go for it. The NBA slam dunk, you get $100,000. To LeBron James, that's walking around money. Why is he going to go do that?
Hey, by the way, to Pete Alonso, that's more money than he's made. The two All-Star home run derbies that he's won is more than he's made in that time frame in salary.
Correct.
And he got that chain with the spinny thing.
That was awesome.
And by the way, did you see who threw to him? Dave Joss, the old Chicago guy, Bill Joss's kid.
Bill Joss's kid, who was, in fact, I think it was Tyler Kepner from New York, covers the Yankees. Tyler Kepner said, I did not know that that Bill Joss, the father, was the father of Dave, and that Bill and Ben Bentley and Joe Muschel and Rick Tellender, that was the genesis for the super fans on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, it was the old sports writer show, and ESPN. That's what ESPN based its show on too.
Correct.
Yeah, those Bill Joss is a legend, and Dave's been around the game for a long time and one of the best human beings in the game. I hope he got compensated handsomely for all those home run balls yesterday, because he threw the best batting practice I've ever seen.
Yeah, they had a heat sheet that I saw on, I think, MLB Network today.
And it was
almost
perfect.
every one of his pitches were perfect. Right where Alonso wanted him, he's hitting that spot. It was amazing.
And Shohei Ohtani's guy ought to be fired. That guy sucked. I mean, he could not duplicate a freaking batting practice pitch. It was unbelievable.
But it made for a very exciting first round matchup.
It did, and then I turned it off.
And the tiebreakers.
Well, we've got the All-Star game tonight. The trade deadline's on the 30th. Just keep your phones on, because if I get a tip or you get a tip, we got to go. Emergency podcast. Bam! There goes one. There goes.
Hey, are Jed and Rick Hahn both in Denver? Have you seen them, Maddie? Because who knows? There's some fits there.
Yeah. Javi Baez.
We've seen it before. How about Chris Bryant to play anywhere?
Chris Bryant to play anywhere. How about a couple bullpen?
How about a pitcher? Yeah.
Yep. You got Aaron Bummer's been on the injured list. What about Andrew Chafin or Craig Kimbrell at the back end of that?
Exactly.
The White Sox can win the World Series. And I keep having Sox fan friends of mine go, yeah, let's just take the next step. We'll worry about it next year. Next year's promised to no one, man. You could wake up and half your rotations on the injured list and go, oh, God, why didn't we do this last year?
Yeah, for sure. Look what happened when Washington sat Strasburg years ago. Barely lost the division series, would have won it easily. And who knows how far they go that year. Now, they eventually won it in 19, but they almost never even got back.
Crazy. Well, Maddie, you have a good time out there.
Appreciate it. Will
By the
do.
way, there's a dispensary, according to Jesse Rogers, a block from the stadium. Just thought I'd let
As
you know.
I was walking up to the stadium, I was offered a free sample of CBD something for sleep.
I think it's on 17th, if I'm not mistaken. It's either on 17th or 18th, just off the mall there.
Wow.
Big green sign. You can't miss it.
Were you able to expense that stuff, Gordon, when you were with the Sun-Times?
I did not partake. I just walked past it every day, but sources tell me that some others on the beat did, and I don't know what they spent, and I don't know whether they expensed it. I mean, hey, if you buy an edible, isn't that dinner?
That's dinner. 100%. I want to read the column if Maddie's doing it before we're doing edibles before she writes. You guys have a great day. Enjoy yourself out there. Be safe, okay?
All right. You too, Cap. Take care.
All right. For Maddie Lee, for Gordon Wittenmeyer, for Tony Gill, I'm David Kaplan. This has been another edition of the Cubs Talk Podcast, brought to you by Wintrust, home of Cubs checking, with free ATMs nationwide. We will talk to you next time. And again, any breaking news, we will have emergency podcasts if the Cubs make a big deal.